We'll now move to the arena financing. Andrew, we welcome you and your team here.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, good. Maybe I just set it up here.
You're on, young lady.
I am on. Thank you for calling me young. I appreciate that. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to address all of council. I am excited to announce that we have a Made in the USA loan alternative to present to you today. Our vision, and by our vision, I mean the city's, the public, and ESG's vision, is here. We are here to create a flexible, state-of-the-art facility that is iconic not only to Virginia Beach, but our region and the state. It offers events for everyone, creates memories for a lifetime, creates jobs and businesses, and draws major acts and top-tier events, and to create that year-round playground. I don't want us to lose sight of the city economic impact of over 2,300 jobs during construction and $240 million in spending. This will be over a 2-year period once we break ground at the end of 2016. The economic impact over time will be 440 jobs created by this facility, $15 million in annual salaries, and over 65,000 room nights, and that's just in the winter season. Net new spending, 20-year present value of over $1.7 billion. And I want you to know that this does not include any potential impact of additional development that this could spur over time. What remains the same in what we are proposing today? Everything except the lender and the loan structure. All previously negotiated agreements, I actually had one of my staff do a count today. If they are correct, it's 419 pages is what the development agreement is. We're asking for a change to basically 1 page. The fundamental business model and market analysis doesn't change. The city incentives do not change. It's still privately financed. It's going to be locally owned. We have a highly qualified and experienced team that we started it with back in 2013, 3 years ago, and are still with us today. And we are dedicated to minority participation on this project. What are the changes that we're asking for? The lender will be a U.S. investment bank. We're asking for changes in the loan structure, which I will go over in a few minutes. There are 2 clauses on 1 page of the development agreement that, based upon our attorney's review, need to be changed. Obviously, the city attorney would have to opine on that. The main benefits of this proposed financing is it's a domestic alternative to the Chinese loan. It addresses any perceived security concerns that we have heard from the public. It removes the Chinese procurement requirement. We now have no required Chinese content. It removes the political volatility of what happens internationally, whether it's China, US, and we all see what's happening around the world, and that's removed. An accelerated development and opening. We will break ground this year. We will have our grand opening by the end of 2018, if you give us permission to move forward. A U.S. bank trustee will administer the loan proceeds. It will not be anyone from China. There is no balloon payment or interest rate adjustment that has to happen at the end of the 15 years, which was in the Chinese terms and conditions. So there is no risk of that any longer. It is actually a fully amortized loan. And it does have early pro sports team potential. We've always said, and I think everyone here knows from past experience, that until you are building a facility, you really can't get in the conversation. What is our plan of finance? It's a taxable municipal bond, which is a known finance structure to this community and to the people here in the room and you council members. It is a U.S. investment bank that represents large investors. And the bond proceeds will be limited to the use for the construction contract, the related cost of issuance, and the required reserves and escrows that are usual and customary in a taxable municipal bond. There is no developer fee, and we are not taking any money out of this loan closing for the money that we have spent on this project. And we will be fully responsible for the debt, not the city. The bonds will be repaid by the same revenue streams that are currently in the agreement, which is 1% of the hotel tax and the but-for taxes, and from the payments from the arena operations that we're responsible for. The VVDA may serve as a conduit issuer. There are no obligations and no recourse to the VVDA, the city, or the state. And the same role it plays for other private entities, such as Westminster Canterbury, which was a deal that this council approved less than a year ago. And there actually will be some annual fee revenue for the VVDA for playing that role. So the proposed changes in terms, what are they? The type of lender, the form of commitment, and our debt-to-equity ratio will change. The loan will fund the full construction contract. Debt payments, however, will likely decrease based on the current market and where interest rates are today. The payment cap of city incentives that is already agreed to in the Arena Fund Agreement cannot increase per our existing agreement, but they are very likely to decrease because of the interest rates that are available in the current market, notwithstanding anything that's even happened in the last week. This was prior to what has happened in the market. Our equity contribution is estimated to be approximately $10 million. So this is the page that we're asking for some changes, and I don't ask everyone here to be able to read the screen, but literally, we can hand it out, but literally we're asking for minimal changes as far as wording to the actual document if this transaction is approved with all the other incentives, all the other terms and conditions that were negotiated prior to this date. This is what we're asking this council to consider. The city protections that are actually all the white that is not changed, that has not been redlined, the city protections that were built in for the city to look at the loan documents and approve the transaction even after, hopefully, you vote for this, are that you retain the right to review the funding mechanisms and assurances that the money is there, that this project is built, which will include a payment and performance bond, will include that all the monies that are required for the construction of this project are obligated at loan closing, the protections and the right to cure, but not the obligation to do so. And I think that's a very important thing to remember. This document does not require the city to cure any default that we may have under our loan. You will have the right, but not the obligation. And that the city credit rating implications can be reviewed. Initial review by all concerned is it should not have any detriment to the city rating concerns other than what may have been reviewed prior to this date. And obviously, the finance director will have to opine on that, but that is our understanding at this point. So this is the future vision of Virginia Beach that was published long before we were even involved in the arena. The arena has been something that's been on the city's plan for some time. What is our ask? We need to move forward. We have been working diligently, Today, the investment bank agreed for me to release who they are, which is Ziegler. They have actually made some formal comments that will be coming out in the press probably as we speak. And anyone that has worked with us know that we don't put all our eggs in one basket, and we've been looking for this alternative for some time. This alternative was not available in the investment markets 3 years ago or even 2 years ago. But now the time has come, and it is available to us to take advantage of. We have forwarded the proprietary information requested of the city staff for them to affirm this structure and that it is viable. We're asking for you to affirm that we can move forward with this transaction. Some who are aware of this scenario question, is it too good to be true? Ziegler has indicated that this deal is fully baked, and they are confident they can get this done in short order, but without the affirmation from council that we can go on, we can't go any further with them. The time is now, the markets are right, and let's get this shovel in the ground before the end of the year. I'll be glad to answer any
Thank
questions
you very
or
much, Andrea.
concerns.
We appreciate that presentation. Questions or comments, Bobby D?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think from the beginning, this project is a prototype of what public-private partnerships can and should be in terms of the developer taking the majority of the risk and the city assisting with some of the necessary infrastructure and things. And what I was impressed about your group was always your willingness to listen, and I think this is in a large response to you hearing about the concerns about the Chinese connections. And we've just recently had a presentation about a couple weeks ago that, that this was a major factor. And I think the fact that you listened and responded, and the fact that you're such a local company with a vested interest, this has the potential, not only, as you said, to develop the arena, but to spur a significant amount of other private, similar type things going forward and really turn that into a destination area.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
John, your earn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think this is really a good news story. We've taken something that is a really non-traditional way of building this type of infrastructure in our city and having a private partner. And in order to do that, we really thought that we had to do a non-traditional financing means to get there. And so I commend Andrea and her group for working hard to come up with some alternatives. And obviously now we've got a non-traditional way of building these, but we're going to actually combine that with a more traditional way of financing it. And I think that
Did you expect anything different in Virginia?
Well, I tell you what, we're doing just fine. And I think that when staff has an opportunity to finish their due diligence and we take a look at really what the expectations are of the bond market, I think that we're going to find that in this particular scenario with these changes that the most likely scenario is that the city's contribution will actually be reduced. And as Andrea had already stated, it will not be more than what we have already discussed and voted on. But I think that we have an opportunity for a really big win here, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Rosemary.
I have a question for the city manager. Sure. When do you think this will come back to us for a vote?
We plan to take you into closed session next Tuesday and have a frank discussion after we've had a chance to evaluate the city attorney, DCM Smith. Myself have been engaged with Andrea and her team as she has been engaged to get you all up on what her proposal is today. We think it's important that she brought this forward. She's making a bold statement here with regards to the current agreement and the financing terms that the public was aware of. She needed to bring this domestic solution, financing solution forward. She's doing that today. We are actively engaged. Mark, you might want to, if I can hand this over to our city attorney. We have procured a bond counsel to assist us in the evaluation, working hand in glove with George Consalvo over there that most of you are very familiar with, and Andrea's team. We'll get our fingers on the pulse of all the particulars here, and we'll provide you a line-by-line analysis and provide the staff recommendation so that you are fully aware, so that potentially you could you can move forward with even a public comment period on the 12th of July, if you wish to move that fast.
Well, I think they've done an outstanding job of listening and really removing one of the criticisms of the procurement part of it had to be from Chinese products and of course having financing from there. So I think it's fantastic what you've done.
Don Moss?
The point I wanted to make, because I think this is a good presentation for the public that's watching, is that the fundamental business analysis that always made this a good deal was their ability to generate the revenue, the business case analysis, the ticket sales, the venues, the number of events, has been confirmed because a private set of investors aren't investing money because they don't want their money back. They do. But they had to be sold on the underlying business case that talked that the venue can actually generate the cash, and as I've said several times, I believe can exceed those very conservative estimates. So this is just a question of how to get there. But people need to remember that if you don't go to the facility, you don't pay for the facility. I've always said that.
That's
But more
correct.
importantly, the sound business case that their team put together is the private sector has once again affirmed that it can deliver the cash flow to make the facility work. So my hat's off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. The only thing I would like to say in response, we are asking, and I realize the city has to determine that, but we're asking to have a vote before you leave to go on break, because otherwise, if we have a tremendous amount of people, both at Ziegler, attorneys, and our staff that are working on this project, we basically are at the point where not a whole lot more is going to be able to be done. And so if they get pulled off this project to go to another, and we have to get them refocused on this because they're working on it literally around the clock. My emails are pinging all night long, and they're not from China. But I'm asking for you to look at a way to possibly do that, is what I'm asking
Well,
for.
the changes are not, it's one page, and we should be able to.
Yes,
Louis
ma'am.
and then
Oh,
Amelia.
I'm sorry.
John made a good point. And would it be possible for us to see your revenue feasibility study before we're asked to vote on July the 12th?
Well, we have sent the projections that have been submitted to the lender to Patty, so she has that information. Obviously, we consider it to be proprietary, but we have sent that to her for review.
At least our committee ought to see it, I think.
I think that's
Go
doable.
to the city attorney's.
Again, as long as it's held to be proprietary, that's my only request.
And we can do that, right, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, sir.
I knew that. Amelia?
Well, we appreciate your transparency today.
Thank you.
You're standing there with confidence that you brought something positive to us. And you took the time to meet, at least talk with us prior to this, so we have a working relationship with this. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. I will just thank you for coming over. I do think, obviously, the way it's been presented to the public today, really, and I think we've heard a few comments about what might be coming, but we really won't have the details till we meet in closed session next Tuesday, and I look forward to that meeting. But I want to reiterate what I think John and Louis just have said, but this is a privately financed project. And John, I will even add, with no funds coming from the general fund for the infrastructure, okay? Are you happy? No, but it is privately funded, no funds from the general fund to support this project. We also must look at the current state of the economy. It's liquidity everywhere, and who'd thought last week that this week the interest rates would even go lower? And really, this project gets paid back through cash flow. And it's a heck of a lot easier to have that cash flow be better with interest rates being lower. And that, to me, if you're asking me where the opportunity is for everyone, for the city and for our partner is about these rates. And I would like to see some public input, Bobby, before the 12th, if at all possible. I do see the point, though, about the way these interest rates are today, you know, and basically being, changes being more for the good than I think to the other way. So we'll get on, we'll roll up our sleeves. You all just keep on pinging on the email at night, you know, 24/7.
We will, I assure you, we will.
We'll see what we can get done.
Right.
Okay?
We want to bring this to our hometown community. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.